You are now listening to Conscientization 101, an online magazine combining reflection, music, and action through independent media. I
think that the only way that we're going to realize freedom, justice, equality, decent living for people is if there's a complete change. Everything has got to be turned around, and that's a revolution. It's a revolution.
Hello, welcome again to another episode of Conscientization 101 podcast. Yes, I am your host on this edition, James Stone, senior editor of Conscientization 101. And sitting in with me today in studio, I have a special guest, my nephew, G Stone. Go ahead and say something to the people.
Hey, this is G Stone here.
There you go. Look at him smiling over there on the microphone. But, all right, this episode we will be airing part 2 of a dialogue that we had with Donnie Mossberg. It's going to be excerpts from that dialogue. The whole dialogue was over 4 hours long. And you can only get that by getting a subscription. And we want to emphasize, as we emphasize on all of our podcasts, that you are not necessarily hearing the best of the dialogues that we air on the podcast. The only way you can hear the best of the dialogue is if you get the whole dialogue. And you can do that by getting a subscription to Conscientization 101 magazine. And we'll tell you about that, more details at the end. But this is part 2 of that dialogue we had with excerpts from Donnie Mossberg, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna kick it into the interview. G, do you have anything else you wanna add?
Peace.
I wanted to talk to you kind of in the same vein. There's a passage from Ayikwe Ahmad's book called Remembering the Dismembered Continent. And this particular essay he wrote is called Invitation to a Pan-Africanist Friend. And he's responding back to this guy who talked about Marx and said Marx was like this great universalistic science that all African people must adapt. And this is what Ayikwe Ahmad said. And I want to get your take on it in terms of like the whole socialism thing and stuff. Another way I think, socialism and stuff like that. And the universal laws, just like what you were saying with Dr. Clark, we did communism before anybody named Marx. You know what I'm saying? So, because it's communal, right? So I want to read this right. This was a part of Ayikwe Ahmad's response in this. He said, "You have said that you find that Marxism brings you a useful contribution in the form of Western rationalist modes of thought. I've read as much as Marx as you have. I have too, listening audience, by the way. I think my study of Marxism was conscientious and thorough. I do not, on the basis of my study, think of Marx as the most similarly useful of philosophers. He was hardworking, sometimes so imaginative and innovative as to be poetic. He was a genius like Imhotep, Socrates, Lao Tse, Galileo, Einstein, and Mao. For that, I respect parts of his work. Marx also happened to be a European at a time when the normal, educated European was trained to think Africans were subhuman. He shared that stupid view. He didn't have to. It was inconsistent with the basic principles of socialism and communist thinking, some of which he adopted, none of which he created. If he chose to go along with the fashion of African phobia, it was his moral choice, and I hold him responsible for it. That, though, is a minor point. The major point is that he allowed African phobia to infect and inflict his scholarship. Specifically, he was willing to violate a methodological principle that he thought indispensable in the study of human society, that of historical materialism. When he came to the study of African society, normally applying the principle, he collected historical information about the society he intended to study, then processed it before reaching conclusion. In the case of Africa, he reached his conclusion before he looked at any of the historical evidence, being convinced without examining the facts that Africa had no history. The excuse that Marx only looked at Africa the way all Europeans were taught to think of it at the time is lame. In scholarship, the zeitgeist is not an excuse for irrational assumptions, procedures, or conclusions. Scholars, especially those with pretensions to a scientific ethos, don't just swallow up current prejudices. They examine available facts before reasoning their way to a logical conclusion. Marx was too much of a German racist to do that. So what was his contribution to scholarship on Africa? Marx argued that Africa had no history before European contact. That made European contact the process that brought Africans into history, a civilizing initiative. I think anyone able to believe this, for the nonce, a moral fascist and an intellectual, I think anyone able to believe this, for the nonce, a moral fascist and an intellectual charlatan. There is nothing scientific knowledge-based about this. It's based on racist prejudice. It's based on racial prejudice. So after hearing that, we understand that the principles of socialism, you know what I'm saying? If you produce it, those who produce it, they own it. Collectivity and stuff like that. So my question to you, Donnie, is why is it that, we get caught up in this Marxism and calling it Marxism when all Marx did was analyze, in a nutshell, how to share something our people was doing from time immemorial? Why is this Marxism so attractive and what to our people? Some of our people, the quote unquote intellects of our people, and while I encourage people to study Marxism just so you know what you're repudiating, right? Why is it important that we don't fall into this another European trap of being dominated by another foreign ideology? What is your take on that?
Well, in our party, our ideology is Nkrumahism, Touaregism, and it's not Marxism. And some people have a problem with that. They don't understand why it's Nkrumahism. Like some of these communists and stuff, they don't understand that. It's like they romanticize Marx, that Marx is God, even though they don't believe in God, but Marx is God. So it's like, to me, it's just that whole, white people have the answers. Mm-hmm. So he comes with this analysis, and now he's the savior. Mm-hmm. But like you said, this communal, that's our culture. Like even after slavery, during slavery, people. You hear stories from anytime you talk to elders, they'll tell you, when we were young, mm-hmm. everybody ate.
Yep.
Any kid, any child in the neighborhood, you go to anybody's house and eat dinner. You don't have to worry about, my parents aren't home. Yeah, you go right to the neighbor and you sit down and eat like your family. Like mm-hmm. that's, and none of these people knew about Marx. They didn't know about Lenin or any of that stuff. But that's who we are, and it's like it's almost like they don't want us to know that this comes from us. It's like Marx gave us this, not y'all. Y'all didn't do this. To me, that's a big problem. I never really, honestly, I never read any of Marx's work except for the manifesto. But I've read a lot of other works where people, use Marx as their tool of analysis. And but like you were saying, I mean, we've already had this. This has been there, done that, and we need to do it again. I mean, we were doing it until we've been interrupted, So that this is really our thing. And Marx, the whole communism, that's, even though they try to make it seem as if it's not tied to culture, it is. It's tied to their culture, whereas our communalism wasn't the same way as they think of the Soviet Union communism. It was nothing like that. And so to try to impose that on others, like they're trying to impose everything on us. They want us to be Democrats, and no, you got to be communists, and no, you got to this and that. We already had what we had. What we're trying to do is get back what we had. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to get back to where we were with it. And we don't need, at the end of the day, all we needed to be is left alone. Just leave us alone. Yes. Let us do what we do. Mm-hmm. Just leave us alone, because we was doing it before y'all bothered us, man. We was doing it and developing, we were developing, societies and so on. So that whole Marxism, I'm not a big fan of it, because and Kwame Ture, he always would say that, it's a universal concept. How can this person say that he's going to invent communism? All we can say about Marx is that he's just an observer. He observed it, just like you say, he analyzed the situation, but he's not the creator. I don't know why they keep trying to push him as if he's the creator of this concept. We all own this concept. Like, it's a universal concept. It was here before Marx. It was here before this earth was here. You know what I'm saying? So no one person can just come with this ideology and say that they're bringing it to us. How can you bring this? We've been doing it before he was even a thought.
It's funny. It's good. It's funny you say that, because like I read Das Kapital. I finished it. It took me about like maybe 4 or 5 months to finish it. I was reading it like crazy. Now, it has some profound analysis in terms of, I got it up on the wall. I got like 2 copies of it. But I also got my Dr. Clark too, right? But it has some profound analysis about the analyzation, and it's not saying like, this is how, I want you to be a communist right away. Basically, all capital is breaking down capital, like capitalism and how it works and how it's a inherently rotten system, but replete throughout the whole book. That's why when these Negroes say the beyond black stuff, you always make references to your culture. People, I've heard David Harvey say he loves capital because of its immense cultural richness. And he means white cultural richness. Because that's all Marx studied was white folks. That's all white folks ever study white folks, and then say, oh, I ain't got to study on nigga. Yeah. They ain't got no culture. Yeah. And so you hear all this stuff. He's talking about Ricardo. He's talking about referring to some stuff in other books and Shakespeare. He's doing a whole bunch of cultural stuff that, I'm familiar with as well. But at the same time, he's studying his culture. Now, anybody can tell you, and I can tell you, just like Kwame Ture can break it down to African. Now, look, man, anytime you got, labor, capital going to oppress labor, you ain't got to say, them white folks with that money, they're going to make you come to work tomorrow. That's all you ain't got to say. Labor oppresses capital, and then what you have is friction. And then you have the dialectic. How you going to eat without no job? That's all you got to say. Exactly. Then you have the contradictions. And as those contradictions to the dialectic, the unifying of the opposite, you can say that if you want to, but like Fanon said, if you want to confuse the people, you can. But you got to talk in your culture. And this is how the African Americans. Now, when them white folks got all that money and you got to go to the store and you got to buy, because they own all the food and they throw it away at the end of the night. Yeah. That's right. I'm giving them, we know this shit. You know what I'm saying? But we think they culture is some universal scientist thing. It's just how they talk. Yeah. Somebody would say my country accent and how I talk is a sign of less intelligence. well, if I really wanted to, Donnie, I could actually talk about dialectical materialism, and I could also talk about the historical processes of society and political economy and how they affect people on a quotidian basis. I could talk like that if I wanted to, but who would I be trying to talk to?
Who are you talking to? Yeah.
I'm trying to talk to my people. I know how we talk, baby.
Yeah.
I talk all the time. Now,
They love to use 5 million words to say one thing.
And one of the things I found in that mark, he go into his culture, but then again, he also talks about the primitive accumulation of capital, where he says everything comes from the commercial hunting of black skins and stuff and internment of indigenous people in the mines. But as Marxists, all them Europeans say, they say that's an advancement because you niggas wasn't doing nothing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So whenever you talk to a Marxist and you say, well, damn, they destroyed our society and that's why we need African liberation. They did it to Sekou Touré. Because when the French Communist Party, it's in Walter Rodney, he said, we need to struggle for African nationalism. Well, they said, no, you need to struggle for French communism. Well, if I study as a Frenchman, that means your colonialism is legit. So what we need to understand, what all Marxism is white folks saying, look, you got to share some of that nigga property with us. And I want all my black people who say, oh yeah, it might sound like they be in equality. No, what they saying is, look, the bourgeoisie, the people who own the capital, y'all got too much of these niggas and these lands across the world.
Yeah.
Now, and what we need to do is share it amongst the working class. Mm-hmm. That's all they saying. They're not talking about relinquishing the property they stole in the primitive accumulation. I've not seen one white socialist organization say they want the indigenous people to get their land back.
They sure don't.
They talking about making a better America, which means that means they cool with the initial invasion and occupation of Turtle Island.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the same with the South African Communist Party. They cool with the Dutch and everybody being there because whoever's there, whoever's there, it all belongs to them. Whoever's there. Well, how come I'm not in Tanzania? And how come a Dutchman is? You see, that's the problem when you get these foreign ideologies. So that's all I wanted to say. If you had anything.
Yeah.
No, I just added that they have to use so many different words to get one point across to confuse the matter, and keep everybody confused and make people feel like they're stupid, because they don't know the big words. So, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, even like you can see, because that I never really got into Marx, but like I'm, looking back on, growing up, you can see that this is instinctive, like to African people. Like even the gangbanger on the block make sure that all his people eat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They make sure none of their people are left behind. Make sure if I'm good, you good. That's what the cats say in the hood all the time. Mm-hmm. And then they never read Marx. I'm pretty sure I shouldn't say it, but I'm pretty sure they didn't read Marx. But it's like they know that, for us to survive, we all got to survive. Like we all need each other. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't know that, but it's like maybe it's in your subconscious. You just do it. Maybe you don't even know why you do it, but that comes. It just comes out. Like you want to look out for your people. You want to look out for. And I'm not saying that I'm not. When I say that your people, like I'm not talking about the people in the broad sense. I'm just saying if they're in a gang, they want to make sure the people in their gang good.
Right. Yeah.
And that might not be the concept of communalism that we might be thinking about, but it shows you that it's there. Mm-hmm. It's there, and we just need to articulate it in a way that they can understand that this is, we need this in a broader sense as a society, as a people, as a whole, as a continent. We need to all be looking out for each other,
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that, and I want to bring up some again, going back to the Donnie Mossberg channel. Bang bang, shooting information into your brain, one slug at a time. Donnie Mossberg. Reverb on that shit. It would sound really nice.
It would be.
But I remember something that going back to the Donnie Mossberg channel on Gil Noble that I found out about in my damn 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
Gil Noble had Bob Marley on his show. And Bob Marley said, yeah, I know you from the Donnie Mossberg files. Yes. He said, he said, man, because we don't need no Marxism, everything we need to fix. I said, Africa got it. You know what I'm saying? And he talked again, and that's the truth. Now, I would encourage people we must do interdisciplinary studies of everybody, but your base, my brothers and sisters, you can't be doing no away game. Yes, all right?
Exactly.
You got to stop that shit. You ain't with the away team. You with Team Africa, or you got to go, okay? And then if whoever you is, it ain't in the family, if you better be for your team, but if your team wrong, you might need to redesign your goddamn team. Team Europe. There's something wrong with y'all.
Team Europe need a revamp.
But everybody, you need to, other than that, you just an interloper and you trying to suck our energy. You a succubus. Mm-hmm. That's what that woman in the NAACP is.
That's
a goddamn succubus.
Yep.
That's what she is. Y'all look that up.
That's what she is.
It's a European word, damn it. All this shit European, I just take it and I break the English because I'm an African. That's what I'm trained to do, break English. I decolonize everything. All right. Let's go on to the next question, Zari.
Okay, so before I was talking about the book I was reading, and Joao Costa Vargas he was breaking down this concept of a consensus within the community that the black bourgeoisie likes to try to use because they have the resources to have the mouthpiece, So it was this newspaper. He's referring to the Watts Rebellion in 1965 because he was comparing that to Rodney King. And when was that? 91? I was in middle school.
92, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it was 92.
It was 92.
Yeah, 92.
Spring.
Yes.
I remember I told some shit up in school.
You stupid.
I did. White folks was scared.
But he was talking about the Watts Rebellion, and he was talking about this black publication called the Los Angeles Sentinel. He quoted them, and they were basically, I'm just going to paraphrase, but they were basically saying, we're the good Negroes and we're respectable, but because, especially in 1965, the Africans, we were all living together. And so the people who had the middle-class jobs were still living in Watts, right? So they were like, well, we used to live there, so we know what it's like. So we're respectable, but because we used to live there, we know what it's like. So he was talking about how they have the mouthpiece, so they come out as the people who can speak for all the Africans, right? Because they know what it's like, but at the same time, they're separating themselves by saying us and they. We, the good people, and they, the people on the street, okay, for lack of a better word. And so, I mean, the same thing is happening now. You can see it with Cornel West and all Al Sharpton, the snitch, all these people, but a lot. I think the thing that we were talking about is that the difference is now these so-called Africans, these are black people in skin tone. Yeah, these are Negroes.
They a creature.
They don't even have to come from the African community now. They can just get anybody black like Don Lemon or somebody and put them up there and then say, they can speak for all the black people, because that all you need is just this black skin, right? So we were just trying to see like what, have you seen that, because you're out there, have they been doing that on the local level? You can see it on a national level, but is that something that's like really causing a lot of confusion too?
Well, what I'm seeing now, because now is all of the movement is being led by young people. Mm-hmm. All of that's going on now is young people. They're not listening to the old heads anymore. Mm-hmm. So now they're bringing in. But I shouldn't even say that. What I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people that are in college, mm-hmm. and they're using this, to finish whatever they got going on and whatever kind of. Like if they got some kind of work they're doing for school, mm-hmm. it's almost like they're using the movement to get their work done.
I've seen this shit.
Like if they got a thesis to write or some kind of thesis or a paper, mm-hmm. they might come into the movement and do, or they even have some programs where students get credit for doing mm-hmm. community work. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they just come to do this work to get the credits and then they disappear. I've seen that. I've seen like they just disappear in thin air. People you've seen almost every other day at every action, all of a sudden, poof, gone. And you might see them somewhere, but they're not in the movement anymore. And I think that's a big thing that's going on. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it, but that's definitely what I'm seeing. It's that individualism thing again. It's like, I just come and get what I can get from the movement and go on. I mean, we've been seeing that even with live streamers. Like when Occupy Wall Street started, that's when people really started with the live streaming. Some of those live streamers have left the struggle and became, working for CNN now. It's almost like they use that as a way to get into the bigger networks. So that's something that we have to be aware of, because we can't have this. That like we were talking earlier, people are just tapping into our energy, and using that to get what they want. To advance themselves.
Yep.
And it's the same thing going on in the schools, the whole Teach for America thing. You got people coming out of Teach for America. They're looking to get in some corporate gig. So they use teaching in the school for a few years, and then they leave. And the youth are stuck with teachers who don't care about them. Like, everybody's using us to get ahead. Even some of our own people.
Isn't they're using us to get ahead. Off?
I was just about to say that. The African is the goose is the golden egg.
Yep.
They are just using us to save the empire. They use our music overseas, to project this image of harmony. But they also they pervert our African liberation music and then make it all sex prison music.
Yeah, they do.
And then they just keep taking. The thing is, this is dialogue in here. This ain't no like question answer. Donnie, this is what I'm thinking. Let's run this. Let's work this out right here. Bang, 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 bang. What I'm saying is this. I'm saying this is what I propose. Every African don't say shit to the media. Shut the fuck up. And until we organize, let everybody else. I'm just saying we need to get organized.
Yes.
Look, the reason they can go into the institutions is because that's an organized entity. That's what it is. I remember Dale Jones and also Amos Wilson said it on one of your videos, Donnie Mossberg, bang, bang, shooting information into your brain. On the Amos Wilson video, he said, look, we're going to have to be able to reward our children and also be able to punish people. I remember Alton Maddox also said in another one of them videos, he said, I don't need no land. I don't need no 5 states. When y'all come, I ain't going no more protests. Y'all come to me when y'all want to start some nation time right now. I don't need it. I don't need no 5 states. We can get to do it now. Ain't nobody going up to Crown Heights. I can do it now. And he is right. Y'all talking to the white folks media, they always, now we know this is a capitalist system, right? If it's a capitalist system, the media is owned by people. Now, Amos Wilson break it down. We don't own shit. Okay, let me tell you something. We are equal. I think we outspend or spend comparable to white folks. And that's one of the things Amos Wilson is very critical of. He was very critical of always trying to compare income. We need to compare what we own. We don't own nothing. They come into our people come into our communities. They always say, "Oh, it's so poor." Then why the hell are you there?
Why are you there? Yep.
They sucking all the economics.
Yep.
And what we need to do, if there's a protest, I said to Occupy Wall Street, I did an interview on the radio down here, and I said, well, shoot, it's good white folks get beat upside the head. Let them know what it's like. But black folks, we need to stay away from this.
Yeah.
I said that we need to stay. We can get beat for free. Okay, they'll send us an ass whooping if they discovering the Constitution doesn't work. Oh my God, what does this mean without my civil liberties? I ain't making that shit up. I was in New York.
Yeah, some girl
this white girl got beat, and then she saw somebody get beat, and she said, "Well, oh my God, what does it mean about the Constitution?" And
all the time.
And look at us, Negroes. Since we sitting up here trying to placate the white folk because you want to sleep with them, do something. Well, I don't know. Want to do some sexistness.
You want to be with them.
Want to be with them and do some sexy time with them. Then you try to act like that's true. Like you say, "Oh yeah, where would we be without the Constitution? Because it's civil rights that got us the right to." Negro, you just got your ass whooped by the cops 5 minutes ago, and you saying Constitution because you want to get loved down by the white folk.
That's one of them Negro. That's what I call them.
I'm like,
I call them the like God. Like God.
And so I said we do it. I'm being like, take page from book from Alton Maddox. we need to do a moratorium, and we need to. And if they want to go out there and march and express themselves in neoliberal fashion, if they say they look like a man and they think they woman, whatever the hell, let them go. Because what we need to do, we need to set up some clinics. I'm gonna tell you this, Donnie. I know you probably seen stuff like this. Like we said in Houston, if you live in the city, you're either extremely rich or you're poor, right? And so we live on the outskirts of Houston. We live in Missouri City, right? So it's like a outskirts. I had to learn the lay of land when I first moved to Houston. This shit big. So we went into town to Houston proper last night. And man, the gentrification and is just apparent. The level of homelessness. And when you look at the level of homelessness, we was up on a road called Fannin by the medical center. Those of y'all in Texas, y'all know what I'm talking about. The whole homelessness is black.
Yeah, it is.
It's not all people of color. It's not universalism. It's not multicultural. You go down that street, I seen a sea of darkness. It was black. And we need to start addressing our economic and problems as a form. If we ain't talking nation, we ain't talking shit. How many more bills can they pass? And so, like you said, people can build careers off of us. They build careers, the whole career. Look at Barclay Bank. I'm thinking of Walter Rodney. That whole bank came about because of us.
Yeah.
Think of Dove soap.
Yep.
You post black Negroes who say black people ain't done nothing. You wouldn't be able to get clean without Mother Africa.
They wouldn't have nothing if it wasn't for us. That's what Marin Botany said. Everybody needs us, and they do.
And we don't want to need ourselves.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with us. Like Donnie, you said something to me. Just said something. I said when I was a little kid, and I was going, and I had to fight them little crackers every day. You know, I had to fight them. That's right. I knew it wasn't no we shall overcome. You know what the crackers you say? They'll be like, oh, you know, you can't fight me back because Martin Luther King believed in nonviolence. I punched that cracker so hard in his head.
Yeah, because you physically can't do it because of Martin Luther King.
And they used to make fun of you. And I said, call me Malcolm X because I got the specs. Because I had some big old thick glasses. But that's besides the point. But it's something you said. I was trying to ponder this, you know, the cognitive abilities of a child at the time. And I was just like, if they hate me so much, why the fuck they don't just leave me the fuck alone? I don't want to hang out with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. That's when I started reading about imperialism and colonialism. They need you.
Yeah.
They need you. If you are not there to point to what is a white person if they can't point to a black person and say, oh, I'll give them charity. I don't, never mind, I stole all the shit
then they can't be a good white person.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm a good white person. I want to have sex with a black guy. You know what I'm saying? You're so good. That's so... okay.
They get their whole identity off of us, everything about them. They became white because of their distinction to us. So...
Yeah, so and then you want to join all of our movements and stuff. I'm like, yo, just organize white people. Go organize. We don't need you.
That's a parasite.
In the All African People's Revolutionary Party. We don't need you. We need you to go to white people and organize them to fight racist white people over there. We don't need you here. We got this.
If you're not trying to be nosy and be in people's business so you can manipulate people, then I don't know why you're there. Because you ought to feel weird being in somebody else's organization where they're trying to get their group together. You ought to feel out of place. And if you don't feel out of place, it's because you just in there trying to disrupt it, and to me, it's kind of it's a little bit perverted. You know, like what are you doing? What do you need to be here for? Other than to try to control us, you know?
Because it's like if we're fighting white racism, I don't think we need you here in the African community to help us fight white racism. When you live in a white racist neighborhood, you should be organizing right there.
Exactly.
Israelites is gonna be alright. 400 years been slaving on the wilderness. Turntable song right part one. I rock microphones up. Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. South Jersey gutters, motherfuckers, American me. No, I ain't stutter, though I speak broken English, I teach. Yeah, we got issues, cracks and pistols, blood dollar spill in the street. Black babies suffer from a diet of hate over beats. Teachers and preachers, politicians, musicians for gain, making a killing by concealing the cause of my pain. Radio stations making mountains of money to place. Rich corporations, advertisements in front of my face. These corporations never come to my hood to get the bird's eye view of how the shit ain't good. They just position products to exploit the black dollar, and our blatant lack of knowledge of our vast spending power. Cowards never think to spend a cent in the bricks, as long as niggas keep spending dough on frivolous shit. We get a million life-size Hennessy scripts, thanks to mainstream media for selling them shits. Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. 400 years been slaving on the wilderness, searching to find some peace and rest. We scratch the turntable, some bright quad wad, spin on them back and rock microphones. So Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. Hey, to make you know this ain't blood working in vain, it's in a you. What may I fit do? To make you know divide and conquer. The muse pun we yo. Scramble for hip hop 1880 conference of Berlin. Scramble for Africa and all her resources again. We haven't learned from the shit that they did to us then. That's why we suffer. Ignorance is the wickedest sin. We send our babies to the same institutions that slaved us for education on the world from their conqueror's view. The textbooks are damn near 30 years old that they gave us. The teachers unions try to tell you I'm bonkers, it's true. Black educators, lawyers, doctors, and rappers alike, who getting money and positions of power and fame. Don't try to separate yourself from Israel in the plate by looking down on the less fortunate with disdain. Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. 400 years been slaving on the wilderness, searching to find some peace and rest. We scratch the turntable, some bright quad wad, spin on them back and rock microphones. So Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. Let's understand this Eurocentric supremacist system based on oppression, politics, race, and crackertalism. It shapes the people into groups and classes, so the masses won't rise up against their asses. Thus, black people think that when they seek social mobilization and move from poor to middle class, they've obtained some salvation. Your 3 degrees and your PhDs won't change the fact to them you a nigga. Do the knowledge, view the shit through the eyes of Caucasians, who ain't even 15% the world's population. If not for white supremacy, they face annihilation. Thus the need to subjugate and oppress the darker nations. But all white people ain't evil, they all ain't racist. Just don't ask them for reparations. My friends are not racist. Bet they asses never say shit about the Clear Channel playlist, and I fight for reparations. So Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright. 400 years been slaving on the wilderness, searching to find some peace and rest. We scratch the turntable, some bright quad wad, spin on them back and rock microphones. So Israelites is gonna be alright. Israelites is gonna be alright.
Israelites is gonna be alright. This is just simply actual. Nothing that you know. Hey, Mr. Teller, we kill him again. Murder them. We not let them leave. Slaughter them. So we go down, I'm done now. Big dirty stinking rats in the Europe. Not play, not joke, not just stop. We'll take Gino. So we do it.
Now, everything we talking right now, people could be like, they could be like, oh, you know, oh, that's so offensive. God damn it, I'm trying to offend you. I'm trying to offend you to your senses. Because everything we talked about, we know it to be true. That's why we like talking about it. We know this is how it go down, but we want to act just like the Negroes want to act. Yes, without our constitutional rights and the Bill of Rights that our forefathers fought for, I mean, damn, nigga, you learn good, but shit, that don't apply to you. Don't run that on HPD, goddammit. Shit, you know, but we need to tell it like it is, because if we can't tell these inconvenient truths, you don't want no development.
Yep.
Because I find it nothing more profane. I hear these goddamn UN, the same UN that killed Lumumba, is raping these little boys. That you see, I can't. I'm not even. I'm just saying. You know, and let me just put it like this. And y'all have the audacity, some of you Negroes, to talk about Sorensen and said y'all don't like his language. And
oh yeah,
you know
and he
what
always
saying?
gets, and he gets on them about it. He's like, what? He said people curse in revolutions. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So he must be for cuss. They cuss in revolutions. Like, what the hell are you talking? You worried about me cussing and you know, crackers shooting your sons and daughters, and you worried about me cursing?
Oh, words.
Like, come on,
Good
man.
God, yeah.
And here's the thing, all these Negroes, right? They you know, they say, they be like, they be saying nigga they say nigga, right? And then they come out and say, let's stop saying the N-word and all this other stuff and all this other shit. Like, first of all, like, that's the problem. Let me tell you something. You know, you stop treating people like the niggas, and we gonna have to become an African. Then we'll it's gonna be cool. But if you offended, this is how we gotta. This is where we at. We ain't in Kemet. We gotta learn about it. But I'm getting tired of these Puritans. You know what I'm saying? These Puritans. Yeah. There's one thing about cursing. And I don't think what SETI does is profane. You see what I'm saying? I don't. There's a difference between being profane and cursing. And I think one of the most profane things is one of these settler colonists, these colonizers come up here and say they civilized us. Yeah. That's profane.
That's profane.
Not what SETI say, because goddamn it, every African, I don't care if you're Tom, Dick, or Harry, whatever the hell you call yourselves now, you new Negroes, beyond black robot fools. Every African done felt what he done said at one point in time in their life.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you say you ain't, nigga, you's a lie. Yeah. Every African, even you Africans that aspire to Europe, you aspire to Paris, you aspire to Bonn, you aspire to London.
Portugal.
Yeah. Portugal. Every one of you done felt what SETI, y'all done felt that at one point in time. So what the brother's saying, I'm just saying, I'm anybody else got anything to say before we move on?
No, I mean, like, that's, I mean, it's true. Like, how are you upset about me cussing? And man, what they're doing is much worse. And we have to remember, like, well, not we, but they have to remember, like, yo, his that's a reaction to what's happened. That's a response. You know, it's not, even when we think about, you know, a brother on the block. If you see a young brother, I remember a few weeks ago, a young brother pushed an old lady over, took her purse.
Shit.
I'm like, yo, most young people don't want to do that, man. Like, people are hungry out here. People are homeless. People have nothing. People done lost a lot of stuff, foreclosures, the banks robbing them, stealing them. And so I look at these people as, you know, victims. They're victims of the system. So I think that is a point that we need to get, so that we can at least look at each other as victims, because it changes the way we deal with our people. We can't deal with them like the Al Sharpton. He wants to occupy the block, the corner, to keep the thugs off the corner. But why are the thugs there? He don't want to address that part.
And
like, why are
problem.
the people there? Like, you know, they weren't always there. Like, we weren't. Nobody wants to go. Well, not nobody, but these people don't want to go back far enough to see where the problem started.
Exactly.
Like the crazy thing is, we weren't even like that after they brought us here. Like, this is almost kind of recent to us. Like, when we acting like this, this is kind of recent. Like, even when we after slavery, man, people we weren't like this. So this is like, because like, it hurts me when I hear people talk about, oh, these badass kids. I'm like, yo, but they're kids. They're you. If they messed up, it's because of us, the adults we didn't make a way for them. So they learning from us. So we gotta, if the kids are bad, then that's on us.
Yep.
And another thing is kind of funny, Donnie. You said that, and I remember your video, and you was like, yo, they said they wanted somebody young on the panel, and you was like, yo, I'm like 33. I didn't know I was young, you know. But it's funny because I don't know when age is young and what age is old. Because whenever I talk to somebody, you know, they always say I'm young, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever if I see kids 16, I consider that young. But I remember, like you said, the kids got to make a way. When I graduated from college, right? You know, I I taught for a while, but then I was trying to do some other stuff, and like, nobody gave me any guidance, you know. So it's kind of like, I didn't look. I thank the ancestors, Fanon and everybody, and Dessalines, that I didn't have to get on no block and do that there. I did have to, give me some. I know about some EBT cars. They call them Lone Star cars down here. And I'm a college graduate. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame in the poverty. And I could go up and talk about dialectic materialism just like the best of them, right? You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this. There's not a linkage between poverty and a lack of quote unquote intelligence. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was like, it wasn't, I had some rough times. And, and it was like, when I look back at these elders and, all they have is ridicule. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
ridicule.
That's what I hate. That's the part I really despise because I'm like, you were here before them. And it's like a lot of these elders, they abandoned the struggle. Some abandoned the struggle because they figured, I guess we got integration, so we won. And then, others were displaced because of, the drugs that were pumped into our communities. So, but for whatever reason that the adults, left the struggle, the fact of the matter is they did, and the youth are suffering now because we didn't do the necessary things to make sure. So we have to be honest about that and say, listen, all right, we know that we screwed up. Let's try to change things. That's why the youth right now, they're not trying to listen to no elders now. They're not trying to listen to anybody. And I mean, it's good and it's bad because we have elders that really are on the people's side, like, like you all, and I shouldn't say you're elders, you ain't that old, but you know what I mean? Adults.
I got you. Yeah.
But, and they want to, there was a time when I remember, they always would seek to talk to elders. And now it's like, man, they don't even want to talk to anybody that's over like 40. They're like, yo, I don't, nope. Because they feel they're going to hear that pull up your pants nonsense. You're going to hear that, you got the too many tattoos and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, come on, man.
And some of these sellouts might even try to turn them into the police,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, man, I had put a post on Facebook. I was so mad because of that brother that committed suicide out here in New York. He was in Rikers for something that he didn't commit.
Yep, I saw that. He got locked up for like a long time.
No, for 3 years.
3 years, 3 years. And he was on Democracy Now. They brought him out, and they kept trying to get him to make a plea deal. And it was like, come on. He was like, I didn't do this shit.
Oh yeah,
I didn't assault this person.
Right.
And he just killed himself, man.
Yeah, because it's like Rikers Island. That prison is a terrible place. I have a brother that's right now. He's going through the same thing. Like he's dealing with mental issues, and and I try when I try to go visit him. There's always something going on there. The place is locked down. Somebody got stabbed in there. Me and his mom went to go visit him. Somebody got stabbed in the jail. We didn't know that. We the place is locked down, and we asked him why we can't see him. Oh, somebody got stabbed. There's a woman behind me. She says, "Oh, that was my son that got stabbed." The prison didn't call her. It was another inmate that called her to let her know that her son has been stabbed and, fighting for his life. And that's how that place is. And so, and they're locking up so many young people in that place. And that place, there's nothing correct about it when they talk about the Department of Corrections. When you come out of there worse than when you went in. Like a lot of people that I know that went in and they come out, if they don't come out with some kind of mental issue, they come out like just even more brazen than they were before, as far as committing crime or whatever. That place is, I'm sorry to get off topic, but
that's relevant.
That was a case because I followed that case from the beginning, and that was a case that, because I know so many brothers that went through that. I talked to them, and they're just like, they would spending right. They always try to get you to cop a plea all the time. That's their thing. You just plead out. Just plead, and we'll get you out of here. And some people, they do it because the place is so bad. Yeah, that you just want to get out, and you just say, all right, guilty. You don't know. You don't think about the ramifications later. That on your job application or something that's going to come up in your record. But you just like, the place is so bad, you don't even care. You just get me out of here. People get, you get beat up in the dark. You don't know who's beating you up. It's probably God. Most likely it's God. The guards, they in there, they doing all kind of nonsense, man. But yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I
just-
wanted to kind of like address that because the whole thing is when I first saw that story on Democracy Now, I was like, I don't watch Democracy Now. I used to a long time ago, but
me
I
too.
stopped watching it because they always it's so goddamn liberal. I'll be like, I'll be pissed off. So when I heard about that brother and they had him on, they start talking about, is this new for the judicial system? And you know what? I just can't play these white folk games.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is this. You know damn well this is a settled colonial entity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know damn well how we got here. You know damn well what you did, do, and goddamn it plan to do to us.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to act like this is some new shit and basically all we got to do is have a fucking dialogue?
Yeah, debate about it.
These jails, like you said, everybody got somebody in their family. I got people in my family, you know what I'm saying? Everybody been hit by this crack thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody been to jail. People, some of my siblings, you know what I'm saying, had some things going down and end up in places where and my whole thing is this. With the elders, they just want to turn a blind eye to this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking real elders, like 50, 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to turn the blind eye to this shit. And I had to tell an elder close to me, I said, when my life took a turn for the better, when I stopped listening to y'all,
Mm-hmm.
when I really stopped giving a fuck. Like, seriously.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? When I
true story.
I had to balance, doing like Amos Wilson said, you have to balance it and then know when to break it because break the I ain't gonna say on the thing, but because it's set up against you.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up against, and we need to be honest about that and stop trying to act like. I get tired of this. I don't know if they say it up north, but down south, your attitude is your latitude. Don't act your color and all that shit.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You know what I'm saying? I get tired of it. And so my whole thing with people younger than myself, you know what I'm saying? I'm 37, right? Younger than myself. I just don't, because they, it's like they grew up in a technological, I talked to this one cat, he never seen a typewriter. And so I'm just like, I was like, dang, I just don't know what type of, because I don't watch the telly. I don't watch the TV like that. So I want to know what they putting in their head.
Oh, yeah, it's hard. You can't tell how to
you can't. And if you
approach them.
If you going to work every day and all this other stuff, unless you are Kelly or something, you shouldn't be coming into contact with a lot of children like that. Okay? Yeah. Now, so I'm just wondering kind of like what what's going down, because I'm here to say, just because you get older or you graduate from university, you don't like the police, damn it. And these Negroes, they act like because they graduate from college, act like the police they friend, but they be scared trying to pull out their degrees like that. They're going to save them from getting their asses whooped.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I've been jacked up at the job, damn it. So I ain't under no illusion because I know my history. So I was just saying about that, just to, that's why I'm saying, kids, y'all say y'all don't like the police. Ain't nothing wrong with you. These Negroes scared of the police.
Yep.
Shit, they scared. That's why they gonna get them a white woman.
I mean, and they locking us up for mischief, man. Just mischief. Just little stuff you do. Oh, you throw a bottle, you end up in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You got white kids that drive around breaking up mailboxes and stuff. They never see it inside of it. They don't even see the inside of the police station.
Mm-hmm.
They get home and, get a warning to their parents maybe or something. Mm-hmm. But we getting expelled from school for mischief that all kids do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever met a kid that hasn't been, even the ones that so-called good, honest students, they all been involved in some mischief in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Should you end up in jail for that? Like, come on now. They always want to handcuff young people, 5-year-olds, want to handcuff them. Like, come on, man.
And then what they do to these kids, man, I don't even want to get into the nastiness because I don't like talking about it like that, but I know that shit be happening. And they ruin these kids, man. And it's like, man, you can get, man, like I said, I got into a lot of fights as a kid. Not so much as I got older, because I never really had to do it like that, because, but I could, I ain't gonna say nothing. But anyway, but, now they arresting kids just for having a fight. You going to jail, giving parents tickets, kids going to jail, And I got a couple nephews and nieces, and they end up going to these charter schools, and they have to praise Arnie Duncan and shit like that. I mean, and the parent and these parents just are. They are out to lunch. The parents are jokers.
Yeah, they are.
They just tell you, what they say. Just go ahead, listen, baby. Listen what them white folks tell you to do, and it'll be all right. You get you a job working. Now, I told Zara this last night. It sounded like I'm going, I can't understand this. I sat down and saw my parents. Yes, I did not come from a single broken family. I am
You knew who your daddy
African-American
was.
stereotypical, but I still have antipathy for the police. I grew up in a two-parent household. Both of them had jobs. And when none day they came home, it was like, oh, these white folks getting on my nerves. Oh, these goddamn white folks. Oh, shit. They just know they wrong. Oh, now, baby, when you get out of college, you got to go work for the white folks. Now, that's what you do to your kids. Mm-hmm. Like you said, kids' perspective, I seen it. I didn't say I saw it or I experienced it. I seen it. Every day, I seen what happened, and I experienced it when I started to go to work every day. And you experience that. You have to. I can't deal like that. And we want our young kids who got the spirit of Ogun, Dessalines. We want some quilombos like Paul Maray's, but except take that shit back home. And you gonna tell these kids who know it ain't fair, and they being honest. Because these old Negroes is some lying snitches.
Yeah, they sure
And
are.
they gonna sit up there and we gonna tell these kids to go, they ain't gonna work for the white folks. They ain't gonna lick butt like you do.
Yeah, some people ain't built for that.
They ain't built for that game.
Yeah.
And the kids think they getting a better deal off on the corner. You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? They fail to realize, right? The white man own that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
He own that too. So we gonna have to. We got so much, but I do use dialectics, and I'll just say I do use dialect. Y'all Africans don't say, you don't have to say dialectical children. You can say dialectics. You can say ma'at, balance. That was before dialectics. That's the Greek. But I say with all this bad shit happening, there's a lot of good work we need to focus on, and so just kind of moving forward with that. I remember when we first contacted you, Donnie, you astutely noted when your response back, you said, we represent the media wing of the Liberation Force. I thought that shit was kind of cool, personally. I was saying that shit running around the house.
Right, that should have been our tagline.
That should have been the tag. I was like, why can't I look over that? I thought it was kind of clever. Are you in marketing, Donnie? It was quite accurate and really reaffirmed the work we've been trying to do with the website and you've been doing with your channel. So my question is, like, as us three as media people, as media people, we can have like so much influence if we find ways, to kind of consolidate our efforts and think of ways to collaborate, kind of to work together, kind of like what we kind of talked about early when we first contacted you. Yeah. So I was thinking just off the top of my head, I was thinking like, for example, instead of, I know they got something called the Allied Media Conference, right? I think it was held in Detroit.
It's always in Detroit.
Oh, it's always in Detroit. Mm-hmm. They go to that ravaged city to hold the Allied Media Conference.
Yeah.
And see, we need to stay away from that. But anyway, the Allied Media Conference. But I'm thinking maybe, a lot of things that we need, is some skills. So I'm thinking like maybe we could have a conference so people can get some technical skills as opposed to like a conference where people talk and listen to a lecture. And like Paulo Freire said, engage in banking theories of education where somebody just gets talked to, and I guess kind of a way to organize stuff and stuff, organize these skills and stuff like that. And like you said like you see, we live in proof. You said, hey, if y'all want some, if y'all want to know something, just contact me. And we did. I was just wondering, you've been out, you in the Northeast and it's a lot more easier to get around on foot.
A lot more
easier. Oh, okay. I know it's vastly more easier to get along, Donnie, on the Northeast region of the United States of America. So I know it's a lot more easy to get around. So I know you've been down on them streets. And so I just want to know, what are some of your ideas on ways of consolidating some skills, sharing some skills, and kind of like just holding everybody accountable so we can focusing on a project, what are some of your ideas you have that you want to do? You know what I'm saying? Just curiosity. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's so into like, I want to be in front of the camera. Me, damn it, I don't want to be in front of the goddamn camera. I don't want to speak. I like doing what I'm doing now. Shit, I am not no speaker. I just want to. I like doing this. I give these kids some of these books, some of these. Ooh!
Yeah, that's why the library.
What is some of your ideas about like how to consolidate this work? Because I can talk to myself because there is no one to talk to, and people could often ask me why I do what I do. But I want to talk to you, Donnie.
Well, yeah, I think like what you said is like holding these conferences, workshops, things like that. Like everybody that has a talent or some kind of craft that you learn, we have to try to spread it somehow. You don't have to have big classes and stuff. You could just get a few people and bring them over and just show them what you know. Like, because me, this is what I know, like technology and stuff. Like I was never big. Like to be honest, like getting in on our history. This is within the last like 10 years that I'm just getting into this stuff. But when it comes to technology and stuff, I've been in that since I was like 7 years old, using computers and stuff like that, setting up sound systems and all that. So I just try to use what I know and try to get other people. And I'm not going to go out there and try to learn everything about Kemet and then go try to teach people about Kemet. No, they got people that do that. They should do that. We do what we know how to do. So like, I wanted to hold workshops to teach folks how to, be safe how to be secure on the internet. Secure communications and stuff like that, because that's something that I saw is lacking from our community. Like a lot of people, I go there and some of these they talking the hardest revolutionary stuff. Yeah, man, we kill crackers and all that, but opening the computer and going straight to the internet on a public Wi-Fi, I'm like, man, everybody can see what you're doing. So really, that's something that's kind of missing from us. So that's something I want to do, but sometimes it gets difficult to find people that want to do that stuff, because some people look at it as kind of corny, or we don't need that really, or we just want to be in the streets, or we want to just get guns or whatever. But some people look at that as just boring. Oh man, I gotta figure out how to use a camera, and
that's the problem.
Come on, man,
that's the problem.
And I'm like, we need all of this. Like even in our party, we were just talking about it today in the meeting, that was a criticism of our party. We criticize ourselves because they haven't been doing much media, and so so I'm just like, all right. And to be honest, like I've never been as far as doing video. Video is a new thing to me. Like I know the technology, I know how to use the software, but actually pointing, shooting, getting a good shot and stuff like that, that's something I'm still learning. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, okay, we want to do it. We need this. So, and so I think that we just have to keep trying to spread the knowledge that we have. I know a lot of people like to be, like we were talking earlier, like people like to hold on to that knowledge so they could be the one that you call. Me, I don't want to be that one. I don't want to be the only one. Like everybody's calling me. Like, yeah, everybody calls me like, yo, we need somebody to stream this. Can you do it? I'm like, oh man, I'm tired. I don't want to be the only one doing this.
Right. We need
so
some more
I'm
people.
I'm trying to teach everybody. Whoever wants, everywhere I go, I tell you, hey, anybody that want to learn this, just holler at me. Yo, I'm gonna show you how to do it. It's easy. Like, yo, we need more people to do this, because just like you'll burn yourself out.
Yeah, you can. You sure can.
And we need more people to, and that's what I've been seeing in a lot of organizations, that it's just a few people that hold this knowledge and they keep it. They don't spread it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how am I coming in an organization? This person is, 70 years old, and the only person that knows how to edit video. That's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen when this person passes away?
Yep.
Now you're going to have an organization, no way to cover your events, no way to cover your stuff. So we just need to share what we know. It doesn't mean, and people need to know that what you know, it doesn't like I'm telling you, everybody has something that's beneficial. Even the cat on the block, like this cat's on the block that didn't even graduate high school, but they know stuff. They know great stuff, and they can teach it. And we just need that to just keep teaching, keep like that. That's one of the things I liked about the Nation of Islam is that they were training everybody to be, I mean, on the same level. Like if Farrakhan dies right now, the next person comes in knows how to run the show just like Farrakhan did. So our organizations need to be just like that, where we're training, we're making leaders. We don't need one leader and then everybody else is just following, and then the whole thing falls apart when the leader goes away. We got to keep spreading what our talents and things that we know.
It's funny you say that. Like John Henry Clark said, "Kill the man, continue to plan." And just like Aikwe Ahmad said in this, the only like YouTube of him up there, he said, if a leader does his job effectively, he has nobody else to follow him. He just has companions to work with that he respects. And so the thing about it is, you mentioned something that like I think a lot of people have a misconception that like nationalism or just struggle in general is about protest. That's why like I think as I've gotten older, I think when we were younger, we was like, we gonna pick up the gun. That's the revolution, right? We was younger. We thought that shit, right? I wasn't thinking about, doctors and neighborhoods, clean water, and, economies, agricultural. Right? We were just thinking, because I think that's a lot of the times that's what's been programmed us as being kind of into this Western cowboy culture that we're in. And the spectacle of it, the spectacle. That's you look at Instagram, and I've seen a lot of Instagram with people showing like cop cars burning and stuff like that. Well, I have no sympathy for law enforcement, right?
Let it burn.
Exactly, right? The thing I have to say about this is, fam, my people, you don't need to record every fucking thing, okay?
Exactly.
And so, goddamn, you be snitching on yourself.
On Instagram,
Shit. This is like too much. Like the narcissism is going to turn you in. But I think I'm doing this sidebar. But my point is like that is not revolution, and you don't want a revolution just to fight police. You're trying to develop a better way of life.
Yes,
this is for life. Like, look, Amos Wilson said something on a video you had, and also he said, we have to think about our development as a people as if we never met white folk. And what he's meant by that is this. They are an impediment to our development, but let's be clear. If we move all oppressive forces out of our way, we still have to produce economies. Yeah. And that's what we need. We need teachers. We need all that stuff. I like to read, you know what I'm saying? And if you look at our logo, conscientization, I like to listen to music and I like to read and I like to lift weights. All right. But I'm not really big into like sports because, I guess I've never been too sporty inclined or whatever. Athletically
is the word?
That's the word. I haven't been too sporty, athletically inclined or something like that, right? So, and that's, we all love that stereotype because that's the one thing that all white people are comfortable asking, what's the score? Right? I say, the score? I know I got Friends for Non, Rest of the Earth coming, goddammit. I got the one with John Paul Sartre intro in it too. But that's the whole thing. We need teachers, and I like music, you know what I'm saying? And I love hip hop and rap. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a lot of things when people see like a person like a Che Guevara who was like he had many different hats and stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah.
And so Che could read, Che could teach. Che was pretty bad with the gun too.
And he was a medical doctor.
And he knew, and one of the things I really love about Che, his discipline and his self-discipline on himself, and he loved and he loved how he dissected economy. That's what I love about Amos Wilson, because besides like, I've read now more of like Ngugi and Chinwezu and Arma and I also have to talk about Che and Amos Wilson. I like Amos Wilson, a brother, from the same part of the African world that I'm from. He talked about things that people don't want to talk about. That's the economy. That's the economy.
That
and
always bores people.
It bores people. But if you look at economy, it's a set of social relationships. And the reason why we're in all these positions that we're in is because we have been underdeveloped. Every people have a set of, and Walter Rodney taught me this.
Yep.
And he said every people have a set of organic contradictions that lead to development. That's dialectics. That's balance, right? But when somebody imposes inorganic contradictions, that causes underdevelopment. And that's what we're looking now. That's why I can look at you and you can look at me, and at some point in time in our life early on, we thought of ourselves as being different from them people over there. That's why people in Angola probably thought they were Portuguese. Those why some people in Guinea-Bissau thought that they were Portuguese, or in Guinea thought they were French, and that's the thing. We need all that, because at the bottom line is this. I can see foreseeably that like they did with independence, and they never taught us about independence in school. We thought they taught us that we were just abandoned, and you ain't got nowhere else to go. They don't want. I was told this I remember when I was about like 10 and I said I was African. And I had some elders tell me, they don't want you. They don't want us over there. They don't want us over there. And
they always say that.
They don't want us over there. And, they didn't come and get us.
Based on their many visits to the country.
Based on their erudite knowledge,
come
right?
on.
And so the one thing I said, I was using dialectics when I wrote my response. I said, well, the white folks don't want us either. And I said, it is not about, and I was a kid and I said in a very childish kid way, I was 10, but I said, I was saying something to the effect, it doesn't matter if they don't like me, that's who I am. And a very, I could go to the continent if somebody said, oh, you're dirty Black American or whatever they want to say, it don't matter what they say. It's an objective reality. I always, like Kwame Ture said in his autobiography, when somebody said that to him, he said, I heard about it with some people who sold us to the slavery.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And they still here.
I
right?
remember that.
Yeah, so that's the whole point. It don't matter, and I always like to use, so the white people in South Africa, they want them there? Yeah. Or did they impose themselves over there? Africa is ours. This is like the most 500 years, 600 years, this is like the most shortest period, the rise of European civilization in the human history. Their dominance is short. And look what they've done with control of the earth. There's holes in the ozone layer. There's fish have been eradicated from the ocean. And there's such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
100-something years. That's about it since the Industrial Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's like a biological fact. It takes like what millennia upon millennia for evolution
to something. Yeah, to change into something else.
We're saying that we're no longer African, which we physically are, which we are culturally are. You can see it, you can feel it. God damn it. And you can see it based on this concept, this immature, self-serving, individualistic concept called the nation state that just came into existence yesterday. The nation state. I mean, I dare these fools define me as an African American. When I was an African, and they only do that to confuse the issue because they want us to confuse from home.
Yeah.
That's like they don't want us to join up. Right. With the continental Africans. Mm-hmm. Like, they always say that, or they don't want you there. I learned that was such a lie when I started meeting, when I'm getting older and I start meeting African people. Man, they're like, yo, come home. I never talked to an African on the continent that was like, oh no. Like, I'll talk to, I'm talking to a brother from Ivory Coast. I'm like, well, I would love to see the Africa. Yes, you should come. You must come. You must come. Just come. They just want you to come.
That's
From
convenient.
anywhere in Africa, they just want you to come. They want you to come. Like, come.
That's
Yes, see,
convenient
it's a
for
beautiful.
them.
Huh?
That's convenient for them because then you don't have, you don't have.
No, I know.
We're all separated. So there you go. Now we can just ravage you while you all apart. So anybody that believe that, they already done took their position. Any African that believe that, you already told me where you want to go.
And they say that like all Negroes get along over in this motherfucker.
Exactly.
We be
You can't
fighting
find
like
nobody to
dogs
count
over
on here. Yeah. So come on,
And
man.
now we unify. We all one African American people.
Yeah,
when
man,
it comes
that's an
to
old game. That's an old game.
It's an old game, and it's very. You got to ask, who does that benefit? And if we ain't asking these serious questions, I don't, personally, I don't want to be engaged. Nobody should want to be engaged in war. War is not a natural state.
Right.
Not for our people.
Yeah.
We talk about that's something we got to do. And the African really don't like the war unless you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't like if you look at TV, look at what they venerate. We have war. We have troops.
All
Join
that
the
violence, they make it seem cool.
Look, man, I'm into loving the ladies and reading and books and stuff. I don't want to do all that. I want to develop. Donnie, I want to learn how to do them cameras. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to do all that. I don't want to be making speech after speech after speech. God damn it, I want to learn how to put some EQ on this here track.
That's the thing. Like, people want to march and do speeches. To what end? See, nobody ever asked themselves what they fighting for. You just going to do speeches and march the rest of your life, I guess. That's what we're going to do. That's the plan. We're going to do this forever until the world blows up. Okay, I guess. Because we're nerds. I mean,
I ain't no damn nerd.
Me and James. Well, not nerds, but I enjoy the process. I like you were saying, we need to learn how to keep these computers secure. That sounds interesting to me. I would like to learn about that. People don't want to. That's what we were talking about. And I know you recently heard some of our podcasts, the one with Sasha Lilly. She was talking about the day-to-day work that everybody thinks is mundane. That's what needs to be done. How do you think that white power got it together? They did day-to-day work.
Yeah,
they sat down, they wrote their little racist books, had their little racist disciplinary studies with the anthropology and everything. They got together. They did that on a day-to-day basis. Yep. Everybody wants to put the revolution in the microwave and then pop out with, they don't even know what they want, really. They just want to pop in some dough and hope that something come out and don't nobody even know what it is.
Yep. Like I was telling the sister I was talking to yesterday, I'm like, listen, you most likely won't see the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
You're not going to see it.
Yes.
But you got to remember, we got generations coming up that need us to do this work.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't expect to see any fruits from what we're doing today. The situation is that bad that in our lifetime, I don't think we'll be able to solve it. I know some people may say, oh, that's pessimistic, but hey, that's how I feel. That's my analysis of the situation. That is that bad that, in however more years we have on this earth, I don't think is enough for us. But all we can do is just set up for the next generation to carry it on,
Mm-hmm. That's not pessimistic. That's realistic. Because, like Amar says, we're in a situation right now where we're in the 2000 seasons. We're in the Ma'afa, as Marimbani said. We are in the process and the point of our nation building where our job is to find other people to work with. Mm-hmm. So that's the success. It's to find other people to do the work with. Yep. That is the success. Not to go and do the protest with, not to go and do, we have to do we have to find people who are committed and real and serious enough to do the work. And people don't want to do the work. People lazy. They like the sensationalism. They want to just be seen. They want to just use people. And that's not what it's about. And that's why you have to ask, what are you doing it for? And nobody ever stops to do that. And so it's just a bunch of people just acting, and there's no goal. So if you want to see the fruits, well, heck, what is the fruits? I know I keep referring back to Joel's book, but I'm reading it now. So, but like he said, we have to construct a world that we do not know what it's going to look like. We have no conception of what our brains have been so colonized that as we decolonize, it's a world unimagined. So we have to be able to continue to put it out there to decolonize so that the people after us can continue to keep imagining, keep pushing it. We have to follow conscientism because conscientism is to always be revolutionary, never be static, always change. So when people want to do these things and they don't even know what they're doing, it's just like you're not thinking, you're not studying, you're not reflecting. You just kind of come out here and then, like he said, okay, I heard the thing, let's go smoke some weed. Ain't nobody, they don't hear the thing and like really be like, yeah, like sit down and think about it.
That's what you need.
That's what you need.
You need and you see that often on some of these marches and stuff. Like they have the trolls that come and ask these people questions that they can't answer, and they can't answer them. So it's almost like they're asking them, "Why are you here? You here?"
Yep.
Oh, so they ask them something about communism and what. So what do you think about so? And the person will be like, so that means you came out here, you didn't even study what you're out here. You don't even know, you can't even. So, and I'm not even talking about the troll. F the troll. I don't care about the troll, but you can't, that means you don't understand enough to articulate it to, your brother. You can't articulate, that's who you need to articulate it to. And you don't understand it enough to do that. Forget about the troll. The troll probably the troll can probably end up asking all of us questions that we might stumble on.
And try to make you look stupid.
Yeah, but if you have to know what is going on before you get out there, because that's what we need. We need to find the information war. We have to spread information, and so if you don't got it, what are you really here for? You standing out here, and people are here. Like that's what happened on. I was on a march for Mumia, and we were marching through Brooklyn, and people were coming up to me and asking me like, what is going on? Well, like, who is this guy? What is he? What happened to him? What's the story?
Wow.
And you have to be able to answer that. I'm like, yo, imagine if I didn't know anything about this. I was just out here because it's cool or something to do. And they asked me this and I'm just like, he was a guy that got arrested by the cops because people are gonna be like, man, they toss the thing and keep walking. Like these people ain't serious. We ain't joining this because these people don't even know what the hell they talking about.
That's so true. It's funny because it's like people want to be seen so much, and the real bad girls and boys move in silence. I always like to pose the question: if we manufacture, John Henry Clark said, what if we said we ain't gonna wear no underwear we don't manufacture? And all African people from the continent was the manufacturing zone. We had a textile mills that was funded by all African people around the world. It was a part of our nation, right? And we not supply just raw materials like they do with the colonial setup where they extract all the raw materials for the prices they want, right? And as far as globalization, I want to say this for the record. Globalization is a white word. And what I say that is this. We was globalized when they took us off Africa. Now they talking about globalization. Well, globalization, when you link all the countries and the economies to one major economy, then you link Africa when I came over here. And now it's just like when they discover the Bill of Rights is being violated. Globalization. It's always in reference when something happened to them, then the world gets shaky and fuzzy. So we need to have our own cultural understanding of ourselves. But yet and still, do I read about globalization? Yes, I do.
Oh, of course. You have to.
You have to. Yeah, you got to know.
And I always say, like John Henry Clark said, when they did, if they would have attempted, I don't even think they would have attempted, if they would have shot that brother, any brother, choked Eric Garner, shot whoever they shooting this week, we said, you know what? We ain't putting nobody in the streets. Y'all fools ain't finna have no draws. You done tore your draws.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen.
They
wouldn't shoot us.
They would be like, oh shit, those little niggas got all the draws. I don't want my balls hanging out my pants. That's economic power. Because that's what, when we get out in the streets, we get so mad and pent up and they do this stuff to us, right? But what gets us back? What settles us? Shit, we got to go to work for the white folks on Monday morning.
Yeah.
That's why we have to understand capitalism and not say that's some white folk shit. I ain't need to worry about that. I'm gonna fall into my Ma'at thing, and that's gonna sustain. I've met a lot of cultural nationalists. They just said wear this dashiki and do the handshake. I'm sorry, brother, that ain't gonna get it. And so, like I said, we got to, whenever I read anybody from another culture, you cannot see yourself as a chocolate-covered white person.
No.
You have to filter it. No. When I read Marx, I knew what was bullshit and what was not. He's saying it was a come-up for me to get civilized. But that don't mean you don't read it. It's like it's something Chinwezu said. I want to just read and get y'all thoughts on it right quick. He said, and this is in the book called Decolonizing the African Mind, and his essay is Calibans versus Ariels from Shakespeare's play The Tempest. He talking about Caliban versus Ariel. He said, the central objective in decolonizing the African mind is to overthrow the authority which alien traditions exercise over the African. This demands the dismantling of white supremacist beliefs and the structures which uphold them in every area of African life. It must be stressed, however, that decolonization does not mean ignorance of foreign traditions. It simply means the denial of their authority and withdrawal of allegiance from them. Foreign traditions are part of the harvest of human experience. One should certainly know about them, if only because one must know one's environment and especially one's enemy. One should certainly use its items from other traditions, provided they are consistent with African cultural independence and serve African objectives. But one should neither ape nor revere them, let alone sacrifice their African interests to them. And so when we look at struggle, when we look at what we was talking about throughout the whole conversation, when we talk about our people and what we find ourselves in, we cannot afford to be ignorant of Europe's history, just like Arthur Schomburg told John Henry Clark, oh, you want to know all about African history? Go study your enemies, boy. I study Europe consistently. I study Africa consistently. But when I study Europe, I don't fall in love with it. It's something wrong with us because we out Muslim to Arab and we out Christian to Christians, the white folk. You know, we need to stop all this being purist, as Amos Wilson said, and be absolutist and be like, oh, I'm going to turn the old chief for him. No. You got to look at your cultural basis. And so I wouldn't tell nobody not to read somebody. I would say, if you don't know who you are first, drop the book and know who you is. And know when they talk about the Constitution, about freedom to everybody, if you were fool enough to go out there in March and say the Constitution is being violated, and I feel as an American citizen, I don't know, I feel a certain sense of vertigo going on, then maybe your ass should get beat upside the head. I'm done.
Everybody, that is our final episode with our interview featuring Donnie Mossberg. And again, as always, if you want to finish listening to this interview in its entirety, you just have to go to conscientization101.com or c101magazine.com and subscribe today. And as we said last time, that was not all of the information and discussion. You did not get the whole thing. So you need to go and look at the subscription benefits and consider subscribing, because then you will get the whole interview, which will be very beneficial to you. You will have access to this interview and all of C101's interviews, past, present, and future, plus much, much more. So visit us today and check out full details. And most importantly, you will be supporting 100% independent media. This episode has featured sound from
Donnie Mossberg, Milonga Triste, and Wise Intelligent Israelite, This Uprising 05 from his album, Blessed Be the Poor.
All right, from the Young G's. Thank you, G. Yes. So, Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Conscien1. That's CONSCIEN and the number 1. On Facebook at Conscientization 101 and Instagram at C101 Editors. And until next time, keep on conscientizing.